Hi. Welcome back. Welcome to my favorite video of the year. Hi everyone, how's it going? Welcome to today's video. Welcome to my best books of 2023. We've been waiting all year. I've literally been waiting all year. I cannot explain to you how excited I am about this and how excited I am to talk to you about all these books. Oh, I'm so excited. Let's chat. Okay, let's have a little sit down. I can't decide what the actual order of these books, okay? I kind of decided to just tier rank them. Like, we have just a few books in the certain tiers as to how much I enjoyed that book. And that's all you're gonna get from me. I truly cannot rank these books like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I think I have 7 books here that I'm gonna talk to you about. I only read 18 books last year, so if I chose 10, that would be over half of the books that I read last year. So I originally was gonna do 5, but then I wanted to just throw 2 honorable mentions in there, and I'm just so excited. Let's just get into it, shall we? Okay, first category is honorable mentions. These are books that necessarily didn't make it into my top, I don't know, 5 books or whatever, but like had a really fun time with them, gave great vibes, or they just feel like I got an actual impact with these books. The first book, this is it. Fourth Wing. This book, does it have good writing? No. Does it have a unique plot? Not really. Is it logical? No. Is it creative and whatever? Could AI have written it? Maybe. Regardless, had a great time. Regardless, it awakened the fantasy romance girly in me, and now that's all I want to read. This book made me feel like I was back in high school again. I was a teenager again. I was reading Hunger Games again. I was reading Divergent again. And I was like discovering the joy of reading for the first time. And that's what it made me feel like. I need to have some room to appreciate that, because there's nothing that makes me more happy in life than like a little bit of a guilty pleasure. You know, like me watching a reality TV dating show, me watching Love Island, me reading some terribly written fantasy romance about a dragon rider. Like that just gives me joy in life. Okay, it's the little things. And I wanted to put this book in honorable mentions because the actual books I have in my top 5 are like genuinely very well written, and I just feel like I couldn't put this in with it, okay? But like the vibes it gave, the feeling it gave me, the way it awakened my fantasy romance girl, like I need to give just a thank you for letting me have a good time. If you don't know what Fourth Wing is about, it's basically about this girl who goes to a school to become a dragon rider. I made an entire vlog of me reading this book. I will leave it down below if you are interested in reading it, but like I loved it. I think I gave it a 4.5 and it just was a fun time, okay? It was a fun time. I get the hype around this book. Next book I have to talk to you about is maybe a book that you might not expect, and it's a nonfiction book. That is Atomic Habits by James Clear. I'm actually rereading this book for the second time this year because I thought this book had such an incredible impact. This is a book all about habit change and habit formation, how to build better habits, how to break habits, how to incorporate better routines, all of that kind of stuff. It was so actionable, so like just easy to read too. Like I feel like sometimes nonfiction books, especially these like more self-help nonfiction books, they can repeat the same thing or drag out what they are trying to say in like 10 pages. They're trying to make one point, they take 10 pages to make the point. I did not feel like that with this. I felt like what the book was written about, the way he described things, the way he actually gave you actionable steps in order to implement whatever habit you want to do or break a habit. He gave you like actually backed up science data in here on how habit formation works and how to break habits, all that kind of stuff. I just loved it. And like, I am the type of person who just loves a fresh start. I love trying to better myself. I love trying to become a better version of myself. And I just felt like this book was a really good companion to those feelings. And I'm reading it again going into the new year because I think if you actually genuinely take this book seriously, this book could literally change your life. If you actually took the steps into whatever habit you wanted to do, say you wanted to go to the gym or something, you could totally change your life with the tips in this book. And while nonfiction is not for everyone, I would just really recommend this if you're looking to better yourself or take the next steps of goal setting or habit building, habit formation, anything like that. This is the book you want to read. Loved it. I don't rate nonfiction books that much, but this is a 5-star book. Okay, just saying. Okay, so those were the honorable mentions. Let's get into this is my top 5 books, and I'm just gonna talk about them in kind of tiers. The first tier is, I guess, the 4 and 5 tier. I don't have a name for these. These are books that I really liked, but were not like best book of the year worthy. The 2 that I have, these books just send my soul. First one is Hex by Jenny Fagan. This I read over Halloween. This is a very, very short book. It's a novella about two women who are set in different times. Okay, one of them is like the 1600s in Scotland. She's literally about to die. She's like in jail the night before she is supposed to die for being a witch. And then you have this other woman in 2021 who they like connect through like the time-space continuum, okay? And they are talking about the social commentary surrounding women in society and feminism and all that kind of stuff. And just the stark reality that like, while we are not as physically disparaging to women as they were in the 1600s, there's still a lot of the same kind of connotations and whatnot, that women are still facing the same type of issues. And it was not only a very beautiful like story, but like it just had such a deeper meaning to it. It had a lot of like symbolism and like it was just a beautiful, beautiful book. I would so recommend this if you are looking for something to kind of provoke that feminist mindset. Also, if you want something that just has vibes, like just a vibey book. It's set in Scotland, so if you want something that's a little bit more like darker, like this book just makes me think of a dark, rainy day, but in the best way possible, where your like brain is turning and your wheels are turning and you're thinking and you're like feeling and like all of those things. Also, this book made me bawl my eyes out. So like would recommend. It was beautiful. It was incredibly written. You could literally sit down and read this in one sitting. I would highly recommend it. It was absolutely unreal. Love it. Also, thank you, Hannah, for gifting this to me. Next book I have that is essentially tied with Hex in my rating is Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. I read this book in the beginning of the year. Oh, this book is so beautiful. I love this book. It's absolutely stunning, and it's also quite on the nose with something that happened in the world this year. So this book is about a couple, and one of the women in this relationship is a scientist who is, I don't know, she like goes on submarines for these missions or something. I don't know if she's like a marine biologist. I honestly can't remember. So she goes onto these submarine missions for, I don't know, a few days to weeks at a time or something like that. And she sets out on the submarine mission and they completely lose contact with everything. Does this remind you of Ocean Gate? Okay, it does. They completely lose contact with everything, all connection with like the Navy or whatever, and she is stuck on a submarine and they have to figure out how to survive in this submarine. It is so haunting. The prose in here is unbelievably beautiful, and the story is so intriguing. Not only, number one, is kind of like this, I wouldn't even categorize it into mystery thriller, but it's just like this literary fiction that just like really intrigues your brain. So because you're trying to figure out how are they going to survive this, right? But then also the writing is incredible and it is so haunting, and it's like this deep sea mystery of how are they going to survive this. And on top of that, so you're seeing, you know, the journey of her being in the submarine, but then you're also seeing her partner's journey of being on land and not knowing where her partner is at all. Like the trauma that you would go through thinking that your partner is just disappeared and never to be found again, but they don't even have proof of that. Like, how could you even deal with that? So there is notes regarding like PTSD and like traumatic experiences and all that kind of stuff. And how do you support each other through a really traumatic experience? It was so beautiful. The writing was incredible. The vibes of this book, it's just like haunting and mysterious. And like, if you've been on North Sea TikTok, I don't know, just read this book because I think you would enjoy it. If you don't know what North Sea TikTok is, just look it up. Actually, don't look it up because it's honestly scary, okay? Loved this book. All these books are 5 stars, by the way, but like this book, unbelievable. Next category is above the 4 and 5, but below the 1 and 2, okay? I feel like I can't even rank all these books. All of these top 5 books that I'm talking about, not the honorable mentions, are just amazing, and I loved them all so much. The next one I'm going to be talking about is Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. This is the first book in the Farseer trilogy and the Realm of the Elderlings world, okay? This book follows a young boy named Fitz, gets dropped off at the steps of the palace because he's like the bastard son of the king. His grandparents are like, you deal with him now, and he's basically getting raised in the palace, being raised by a bunch of different people. He's meeting the rancher and the blacksmith, and like, you know, like he's just trying to survive as a child. He's a literal child, like a 6-year-old trying to survive on his own inside this like palace, and he befriends and becomes an assassin's apprentice. Literally the title of the book, okay? The reason why I loved this book so much is because you just know that this is the setup to an incredibly beautiful fantasy series. This is like Fitz's backstory, essentially. And oh my gosh, the way that I feel connected to Fitz already as a character. Like, this entire series is like a 14-book series or something, but like the whole time it follows Fitz and you just become so involved into his life. He really feels like a human character, which I love in a book. I love when characters, you could actually visualize this as a person and they make decisions that follow their character. You know what I mean? And I just think that Robin Hobb did a stellar job with this first book. This is a huge, expansive fantasy series that I have the pleasure of getting to read over these next few years. And I'm so excited to continue on into the next one. This was like a 500-page book and I felt like I read it fairly quickly. I do think it took me like a month to read, but like it didn't feel like a month when I was reading it. It was very intriguing, very like character driven, but also had a great plot as well. Next book I have to talk to you about is one I am so excited about. This has become one of my new favorite authors of all time. I am going to read everything she writes and everything she has ever written, and that is Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. Oh, the perfection that is this book. I loved Yellowface. This is a book about this woman. She is a writer, but she's a very like struggling author. She has not made it big in the publishing industry, but she has a friend who is a very well-known author. Like, you have the dichotomy of the two, okay? And essentially one of these women, the woman who is not doing very well in her career, ends up stealing the novel of her friend. The reason I love this book so much is that this is a story that captivates you. I listened to this on audio over a span of like 2 days. And when I say I listened to a book or read a book in like 2 to 3 days, that is a book that I am just devouring. I can't put it down. The narrator for the audiobook of this was unbelievable. Oh my gosh, she did such a good job. And like, the reason that this book is so incredible is because this woman just like devolves into just absolute chaos. Like, her mind, what is happening? It's just unbelievable how this book spirals. The writing was phenomenal. It just was entertaining. It hooked you. It grabbed you. It had a really great commentary on the book industry as a whole. I just loved it. And it was like very intriguing to like learn about the publishing industry, because we see all of the fruits of their labor, right? But you never really know what goes on behind the scenes. And this book kind of shed some light on that. So that was a really fun little twist if you are a bookish person. But then underneath all of those layers, there's a huge social commentary about how, you know, there's a lot of racism within the publishing industry and, you know, cultural appropriation and plagiarism and like all of that kind of stuff. There's just a huge commentary about all of that stuff. I don't know. It's just such a good read. You can't put it down once you start and you finish the book and you're like, what? What happened to this woman? Like, it's just unbelievable the thought processes that this woman has, and it's comical, it's satirical, it's like got quite a bit of, I don't even know if I would call it dark humor, but it's just like, what is going on in this woman's brain? That's the feeling that I get when I think about this book, but it was very entertaining. Highly would recommend it. R.F. Kuang, you are a genius. I absolutely love this book so much. And the final book of 2023, my absolute best book of the year, and I will say this is my best book of the year, okay? I haven't stopped thinking about this book since I read it, and I don't know if I'll ever stop thinking about this book, and that is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. This book. Oh, this book. Are you kidding? You want a good book? Read it. Oh my God, this book sent me flying. I am a flying saucer out in space after I read this book, crying, bawling my eyes out. I couldn't come down to the earth. I was just a mess. And I love that. Okay, that is my favorite way to experience a book, is through tears. I loved this book so much. This is a book about a friendship, a lifelong friendship, about these two friends who meet as children in a hospital setting. They end up becoming very close friends, and then they end up reconnecting when they are in college, and they form a lifelong friendship, becoming game developers together. And I am a cozy gamer, first of all, okay? So when this book talked about cozy gaming, sold. Like, you don't have to tell me anything more. But then add on top of that a lifelong friendship saga, sold even harder. Like, I could not even put this book down. It was so stunningly beautiful. Like, the writing was gorgeous, and it just, oh, you just go on a journey with these characters, okay? And the one thing that I loved about this book so much is that while it's a story about friendship, it's not necessarily a tie the bow on the, you know, on the friendship. At the end of the day, it's all, everything's great and happy and we're friends for life and best friends forever. No, it is a book about two friends who go through a lot of stuff together. They go through really hard times together. There's disability rep in here, and there's just obstacles that they constantly have to overcome in their friendship. And there's some parts of their life when they are not friends, but it's just beautiful in the sense that it talks about the good and the bad of friendships, and how despite being a lifelong friend with someone, that doesn't necessarily mean that every moment of your life had to be top tier best friends. Like, you know, it's not everything is just rainbows and butterflies all the time. They go through some really tough stuff. It just gives you the feeling of like, yeah, that is real life and that's what happens. And I felt like such a connection to these characters. Gabrielle Zevin's writing was amazing. She really sculpted these two characters and this friendship into something very beautiful. And I just like could not recommend this book anymore. Again, this book was like literally right up my alley. Like, you're talking gaming, you're talking friendships, you're talking lifelong, like literary fiction, generational saga. That is just my kind of book. So I was made to love this book, and I do, and I would 100% recommend it. This book emotionally impacted me, and that is a mark of an incredible novel for me. The fact that I can feel that strongly about characters from words on a page, it's such an amazing thing. So if you haven't read it yet, go read it right now, All right, everyone. Well, that wraps up my best books of 2023. This was truly an incredible year for me. I mean, while I didn't have the most incredible reading year, like number of books wise, I had an incredible reading year of reading books that I really, truly loved. And I also got married, and 2023 was just a really good year, okay? I just had such a great time with my friends. Like, I just feel like I'm in such a good place right now, and I'm so excited for what 2024 is going to bring. I have a very big vigor for reading right now. I'm just so happy to have some time back and to be reading, and I just cannot wait to see what I'm going to read next year. I have a feeling that the books are going to be awesome, and I just want to continue this pattern of reading really high 4 or 5 stars. I love it. Please comment down below your favorite book of the year. I am so excited to read all of them and to comment and talk to you about whatever your favorite book is, and I'll probably read some of them too and put them on my TBR. I would love to know. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to subscribe or like or whatever you want to do, and I will see you guys in 2024. Bye, my loves. I love you. Peace and love, babies. Bye. Reed, come here. What was your favorite book this year? Just tell me your favorite book. You gotta scream it because this is a microphone.
Lightbringer by Red Rising. The Red Rising one.
You heard it here first, guys. Reed's best book of the year, Lightbringer from the Red Rising series. Take note.